So John Harbaugh and the Baltimore Ravens just got brutally honest with us. We got Lamar Jackson in this Baltimore Ravens offense, which is now #1 in yards per game and #2 in scoring, that we're going to break down a little bit. We got Bill Belichick talking about the Ravens, a very bold statement on how good this team is, power rankings, key performances, stats, updates on the roster, and much more. So welcome into another episode of Ravens Reports. It's your guy Noah here with For the Flock. As always, bringing you guys our top 5 news reports and storylines coming out of our Ravens today. First off, let's talk about how the Baltimore Ravens just re-signed their good friend Pepe Williams back to the practice squad after they lost cornerback Kadar Holman to the Texans after the Texans signed him off of the Ravens practice squad onto their active roster. They bring back Pepe back on the practice squad. Good to see Pepe back in Baltimore. Let's talk about Lamar Jackson in this elite offense, which now ranks #1 in the league in yards per game at 447.6 yards per game, and #2 in scoring at 29.4. By the way, the most points scored, #1 and #2, belong to this upcoming game, and the Commanders and the Ravens. This showdown we're going to see between, two MVP candidates, Lamar Jackson and Jaden Daniels. Baltimore won a very wild game in Cincinnati. That's now 4 straight Lamar Jackson has won in Cincinnati, and now 5-1 all-time versus Joe Burrow. The Ravens were able to win in different fashion, like we talked about in the last video. They won a shootout. They were down, 10 points with only 5 minutes left to go in the game, and they kept striking, going strike for strike, man, blow for blow with the Cincinnati Bengals, and it was fun to watch. Here's Bill Belichick on this Baltimore Ravens team and who their biggest opponent is.
Yeah, well, I think, the Ravens every week, they got to look at it like the biggest opponent is the Ravens. They just can't let themselves beat themselves. They can't let the Ravens beat the Ravens. So I think if they can do that, like the fumble, the turnover that Lamar had, that wasn't anybody's fault but theirs. And so they've had some of those. That's looked like some coverage miscommunication and bust there. Give up a lot of yardage and a lot of points against Cincinnati. Obviously need to tighten that up. But when they're hitting on all cylinders, when they've got it going right, it really looks good. They just got to find that consistency and eliminate some of the things that they've done that put themselves in a hole more than what the opponents have done to them. So I'm sure that's the focus there. Take care of our business. Let's just play the way that we need to play and not lose the game. And if we don't lose it, we'll probably win it.
So that was on the Pat McAfee show. Bill Belichick says the biggest enemy of the Ravens is the Ravens. Some of the self-inflicted wounds. But one of the biggest reasons why the Ravens have had so much success on offense so far, especially, Lamar Jackson lighting up the Bengals with 4 passing touchdowns and 350 passing yards last week, was the success versus the blitz. Check this out. Teams going against the Ravens this year have only blitzed 23.5% of the time. But that changed on Sunday when the Bengals said, hey, we're going to double that, and blitzed at a rate of 42.6, and that included 8 cover 0 blitzes. As we're talking, we'll show you those 8 cover 0 blitzes and how the Ravens were able to pick them up on the offensive line. Lamar Jackson and Tyler Linderbaum worked together in beautiful harmony to recognize these blitzes, and the receivers were able to get their head around quick on some faster developing routes and pick up the first down. To be quite frank, the Ravens receivers, they beat the Bengals DBs at times. Just how on the other side of the football, we were getting beat by their wide receivers. Their receivers were making plays on us and, just out-executing us, their offense on our defense, and that's what our receivers did to their DBs. It was beautiful to watch. Jackson was 14 of 20 for 183 yards and 2 touchdowns versus the blitz as a whole. He also racked up 131.9 passer rating against those blitzes. Man, that's absolutely absurd. He was 5 for 8 for 50 yards and 2 touchdowns versus cover 0, which proved to be a big problem for the Ravens in past years. Not so much anymore with Todd Monken as the offensive coordinator. Big part of that is, first of all, working on going against the blitz. Second of all, having Lamar Jackson the freedom and the development, giving Lamar Jackson the freedom to make checks, the receivers being able to go into hot routes, blitz identification, the offensive line as a whole picking them up better. It's a big reason why the Ravens were able to go strike for strike with the Cincinnati Bengals and come back down by 10 in the fourth quarter. Very impressive for the Ravens passing attack. And it's not like they did it against scrubs, man. The Bengals got talent. Sam Hubbard, who's given us issues in the past. Trey Hendrickson, an absolute beast. B.J. Hill, Geno Stone, Cam Taylor-Britt, Logan Wilson, all guys that are not scrubs for the Bengals defense that the Ravens were just able to out-execute. And number 3, another big reason why the Ravens had so much success was their offensive line play, specifically the tackles. So here's a clip and a statement here from Mike Renner. He talked about what Rosengarten has done for the Ravens so far. He says Ravens rookie right tackle Rosengarten has played a big part in their offense explosion since entering the starting lineup 2 weeks ago. Rookie offensive tackles drafted outside the first round aren't supposed to start, let alone look this good. It had been a while since the Ravens had really, hit a home run with a second-round pick. They haven't been great in the second round over the last few years, and it looks like they struck gold with offensive tackle Roger Rosengarten, who's going to be a starter in Baltimore for a long time to come, protecting Lamar Jackson. And then you can see these clips of left tackle Ronnie Stanley, how he has his strength back. He can anchor. He can dance. He's moving around well. I mean, he's going toe-to-toe with one of the best edge rushers in football. Trey Hendrickson is a handful, and Ronnie Stanley is all the way back looking like his 2019 All-Pro form. Number 2 in pass blocking among all offensive tackles, according to PFF. So he's grading out as an elite blindside protector for Lamar Jackson. That is great news for the Ravens offense. The ceiling, right? There's a certain floor that you're going to have with Lamar Jackson, the weapons, but the ceiling for the downfield passing attack with elite left tackle play and then the development of the right tackle and Rosengarten, I mean, it's big time. The Ravens, we talked about this. We said, hey, this team is not a true Super Bowl contender without a comprehensive downfield passing attack that can come from behind in those type of games and protect the quarterback. And they weren't doing that in the first few weeks, but they've consistently gotten better. And Ronnie Stanley is looking insane. I mean, he's even getting out and lead blocking, in space for Derrick Henry. I mean, he's moving. And he looks really, really good. I'm so happy for Ronnie Stanley. All he's went through with the rehab to be looking like this is just great news for the Ravens. Let's take a quick look at these power rankings. A couple different sources here. I like to pull from more than one source so we have a little bit of more of a, objective kind of source here. We have the Ravens at number 6, according to Pro Football Talk, PFT. At number 5 is, interestingly enough, the Commanders, who... That's going to be a fun game. And like I said, I'll be at that game, and I'm fired up for it. When we first booked that trip, it was due to scheduling and availability. It wasn't because, this is going to be a great game. But I'm sure glad I picked that one because this is going to be awesome. The weather's going to be beautiful in Baltimore. I love it. We got Barstool Big Cat having the Ravens as Super Bowl contenders in his tier list here. Juggernauts, Kansas City, and the Vikings with the Ravens at the next tier Super Bowl contenders. I'm not sold on the Vikings yet. And Kansas City, their defense is really what's keeping them. I mean, their offense makes plays when they need to, but Mahomes has not looked the same as he has in years past. You guys can let me know what you guys think about that in the comment section below. Yahoo Sports has Baltimore at number 4. They were at number 6 the week prior, but they moved up to 4. ESPN has Baltimore at number 5. However, there's some analysts out there saying the Ravens are the best team in football. Right now, they're playing like one of the best teams in football, especially offensively. I don't have a problem with people saying they're not, top 3 or anything because the defense has not been where they need to be. And that brings me to the next point. John Harbaugh addressed the secondary. I want you guys to take a listen on what he had to say about how the Bengals were able to move the ball in the Ravens secondary so consistently.
Why were they able to do what they did? Like, what didn't quite work for your secondary?
Yeah, well, first of all, I think they had just an A+ game in terms of their execution. He had pressure in his face numerous times. The pocket was getting pushed, guys were coming at him. He stood in there and made some really great throws. Like on-the-money throws off his back foot. He had receivers that were tightly covered. I call them, tightly contested catches. We had numerous tight coverage where they made the catches. So in that case, that kind of a throw under pressure, that kind of a catch, that's football. You have to understand that. But I also believe that we compounded the yardage because we didn't play things as well as we need to play them. You know, there's so much opportunity in there to play certain things better. Probably 5 or 6 plays in the passing game from a coverage standpoint that we're just way better than that. You know, we're way better than to play some of those things the way we played them. Our guys are going to watch them on tape. I'm sure they already have, and they're going to say the same thing. They're going to say, you know, that's something we got to do better. So that's that. We're still striving for consistency. You know, we're still fighting for consistency, and you're going against a really efficient, talented offense, but it's still up to us to play our defense consistently the way we want to play it.
So he says, yeah, part of it is they were just executing at a high level, you know, NFL football on time. You know, he talked about how Joe Burrow had guys in his face and was able to put the ball on the money, and then the receiver's able to execute, grab the ball, snatch it out of the air, high point, just accurate throws, great catches. Some of it was just high-level football by the Bengals. I mean, the offense was humming for Burrow. He was dialed in, desperate for a win. However, he says, you know, there's 5-6 plays there that we're just better than that. And he just gets real and he says, we're better than that. And I love how he gets honest. He says, yeah, hats off. They made some great plays, but also there was some other plays where, like, yeah, we were going to take our lumps at times, but there were some lumps that we took that we didn't have to take. That's how I took it. Like, hey, we could have been better in a few of those plays. If we were better in those plays, maybe we don't go into overtime. We come out with the win directly. All right, guys, just wanted to come at you with a couple of quick updates for our Baltimore Ravens. We'll have our Ravens and Commanders preview coming out here shortly, so make sure you got your subscribe and notification bell on so you don't miss any Ravens content, news, updates, anything we got planned for you guys. As always, man, hit the like button if you got any value out of today's content. I love you guys. I appreciate y'all, and we'll see you in the next video.
When he wasn't looking, he ran me over.